Welcome to the most forward-thinking, inspirational podcast on the planet. Prepare to reevaluate everything you've been taught.
They have the power, we have the numbers now. It's all just a constant illusion of control. They break us like horses.
And they can tell us we're crazy, and we can say, well, you haven't seen anything yet.
Everything you knew was a goddamn lie. Put you up and explode like it's the 4th of July. Possessed by perfection in this land, if you're awake, you're the enemy. Every day a new deception. Pick your scene and take direction. And on a search to connect. But I don't wear a mask and I have no regret. Down on your knees, you don't look so tall. Open your eyes and the empire falls. Don't you step out of line. Don't you step out of line. And here we go.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Mental Mastery Alliance podcast. It's been a minute since we've recorded, and I know I always start that way, but I'm telling you, it's summertime. Summertime in Canada, you don't get too much time up here to really enjoy the weather. So you really maximize it. It's also what appears to be a changing of the guard, all that sort of stuff I've talked about on previous episodes. So I do apologize to you diehard listeners for the delay. We've recorded a few episodes, so there are a few sort of in the background that I wanted to get out there that weren't time sensitive, that I still wanted to do some edits on. It's an interesting time. It's always been an interesting time. I guess when this podcast started, things were kind of heating up. Like this is like 2-3 years ago. But we've rolled through COVID, which has lasted, like 2 years. So it's hard to believe that, almost the entire time that this podcast has been running, the COVID narrative has been a thing. And to me, that just seems so weird. Like it's been almost 2 years that this world has been eating this garbage up. And I don't mean garbage as in people aren't dying from it or what have you, but I mean just absolute total media propaganda. There's so much more in this world that goes on. Like I'm trying to, let me just see here. I was looking around and somebody posted this thing and it's actually doing the rounds right now. But the first time I saw it, I thought it was absolutely priceless. So let me dig this up and I'll read it to you. It's a funny thing that sometimes they're images and sometimes they're written word, but here it is. Walking into a restaurant. Hello. Hi, table for two, please. Sure. And what's your name? That's Debbie. Great. And do you and your guest have your vaccination cards? We do. Can you tell us who our server will be? Looks like Brad will be your server tonight. Great. Can you show us Brad's vaccination card? And also, can you provide me with proof that Brad is not a carrier of HIV, hepatitis A or B, or any other communicable disease? Also, we would prefer not to be served by someone who is on or uses recreational drugs, such as cocaine, meth, fentanyl, etc. So if you could provide us with Brad's most recent talk screen, that would also be great. Let me get the manager for you. That'd be great. Thanks. This whole COVID thing, this message that comes across, we get put into the spot where the world wants to hear COVID. And it's not that they want to hear it. It's that they've heard it for so long, they don't know what else to look for. They don't know what else to panic about. They don't know what else to do. If you guys remember pre-COVID, people were arguing about straws. Do you remember? We had to go with plastic or paper straws because they were killing the environment. And it was foolish. There was so much out there that people were just randomly arguing about. There was no cohesive argument. like it's almost like this world was too perfect that nobody had anything to complain about. So the masses, the media, and those that were around were just complaining about whatever they were told to complain about. And then you see all kinds of activations. You see all kinds of people that are fighting for BLM, which has been known to now be a scam agency. The head of BLM bought a massive mansion. And that's not to say that Black lives don't matter. This is the biggest thing, right? They pick an argument that you can't disagree with. Like, think about Build Back Better. Right? What the fuck does that mean? Right? Well, what does that? Make America Great Again. Another slogan. Since when was America not great? Right? And these are all slogans that you can get behind. And when you get behind a slogan, you don't really pay attention to kind of what it is that you're saying, fighting, or doing, or anything like that. You're just kind of like, hey, here we go. And the truth of the matter is, if you want to get offended, if you're somebody who desires to get offended, you're going to get offended by anything. That's just the way it is. You, the listener, are not somebody who's easily offended. And you're also somebody who's probably a critical thinker, which is huge, because if you're not a critical thinker, what the fuck, right? There's also slogans out there that say critical thinking in the days of COVID, in the times of COVID, are detrimental to the health of those around you. I'm sorry. So my ability to think for myself and be like, wait a minute, Bob, maybe I don't want to stick your go-go juice into my arm because it's never been tested and I have no fucking clue what you're putting inside me. Well, you're going to get in trouble. You're going to get in trouble for thinking for yourself. Oh, can you imagine that? So what used to be a crime, back in the day, isn't really a crime anymore. You got all these people being let out of prison for the quote unquote crimes, and all these new people being put in prison for not social distancing. So let's cram you into a box that we just let a bunch of people out of. If anyone put any sort of critical thought into what the hell's going on, none of it makes any goddamn sense based on the information that we've been given. But if you're not compliant, well, what the hell? So I'm not saying any of this to be like worrisome or weird. I'm just saying, in my observation from what I've seen, and again, I've been basically on vacation for quite a while, so I'm missing things like the Afghanistan situation, which we're going to touch on here. I'm not fully versed on all of this stuff because I don't care. Like I literally turn the news off, and when you turn the news off, you don't know what you're supposed to be afraid of, so you're not really living in fear. But the addiction to fear is massive. And when I say the news, I literally mean like not just the television, because nobody really watches TV anymore. So there's new ways to get into your mind. And that's like podcasts, this, that, and the other thing. Whatever you're focusing on, it's social media. You see all these people, man, there's a ton of people out there that are like pro-mask and a ton of people that are anti-mask. Just arbitrarily, let's just use that as an example. And one of my biggest problems with this is you see some people that are like shooting hate in any direction. Like I understand that, the liberal left want to hate everybody. You see all these posts like death to people that don't wear masks and death to anti-vaxxers and all this shit. And it's just ridiculous. It's like, could you imagine like the whole idea of wearing a mask and getting a vaccine? The purest principle, if you take away all the nefarious news to it, is to save lives. And you've got all these people that are saying death to anti-vaxxers. Like, come the fuck on. Like, what is going on here? Right? It's amazing how easily people are manipulated into hate. But when you come from a place of abundance and love, you realize that, you know what? If they're going to force this vaccine, what you're seeing, I mean, in my personal opinion, what you're seeing is essentially the rapture. You're seeing a division amongst humanity, which is the third dimensional entities, the third dimensional beings are just going to be quote unquote left behind to deal with their vaccines and that sort of stuff. And the fifth dimensional entities and those that are sort of elevating their game and checking things out and changing how they live and changing how they eat, drink, breathe, sleep. These are the people that are just going to naturally kind of progress away from the worry, the fear, the this, that, and the other thing. If everybody wants to fight, let them fight. But you're going to see a group of people collectively start separating. And that's basically what the rapture is. People think that heaven is like this location that we go to or this ideology without realizing that it's just a fabricated term that somebody handed down to somebody else through informational audio storytelling. The point being, heaven more than likely is a vibrational frequency, and it's attainable here. And then from there we go somewhere else, because we also have this belief in finalities like death. Death isn't final as far as I know, right? But then somebody will say, well, how do you know? We think about all these things and we have all these ideas that essentially end up blocking us from procuring what we need. To have a true thought that isn't hindered by what society may or may not think, but to be able to basically hunt down any possibility for any single outcome and say to yourself, this is possible. And if it's possible, if I can imagine it, then it's possible. And if I can create it in my mind, if I can think it, then I can achieve it, theoretically. Because your life right now, whether you believe it or not, is a result of everything that you once thought. It's also a result of every single limitation you've ever put on yourself. It's also a result of you believing that other people are putting limitations on you. There's a saying, nobody's coming to help you. There's also a saying that nobody's coming to stop you. You know, there's all these illusions out there and all these things that we can think of and all these things that will tell us to stop ourselves. And guess what happens when we say to ourselves, I'm going to stop? Then you do stop. I can't do this because of this. Well, then you don't. And what's interesting about that is the immediate thought process that somebody would go to is, well, what? I'm going to go out and kill somebody? Well, fuck, no, you're not. Right? There aren't a lot of people out there that want to kill. There just simply aren't a lot of people out there that want to kill. Some of them, probably. I'm sure there are some people that have been mentally brainwashed, mentally deluded, that decide that the idea of killing is there. But we also grew up in a time where everybody watched television without batting an eye or without thinking anything. We watched shows like, I don't even know, Dangerous Minds, this show, or is that a movie? I don't know. What's the one I used to watch all the time? I don't know. It's about the guys that were, holy jeez, I can't even remember. Like I'm picturing some of the faces. Well, it doesn't matter. It's irrelevant. But all these shows about serial killers and how FBI teams hunt them down and they get these clues and this sort of stuff. I know that somebody's out there going, you idiot, it's this show. I'm like, yeah, well. Anyway, my brain just isn't working that way today. Again, still on vacation hours. We see these things on a repeated Criminal Minds. Got it. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. I'm right here. So we see these things on a weekly basis and we're like, well, fuck, there's so many episodes. There's so many people out there doing so many horrible things. But is there really? You know, we think about all the horrible things that we've ever heard, all the serial killers, which by the way, were also a psyop. Serial killers don't exist anymore. They only existed when they needed to fear people into doing certain things. That's a whole other episode, a whole other podcast. But yeah, we've done some serious research onto what the serial killers are. And the simple fact that Ted Bundy, for example, just a small example, Ted Bundy is one of the elites. Look up the name Bundy in any of the elites. And then if you really want to go into it, if you're really down for a rabbit hole, look into his victims, who his victims' parents were, and what may or may not have been going on behind the scenes at the time of their disappearance. It's very peculiar. Anyhow, ritualistic. That's what they would have been. So, I mean, Hillary Clinton these days has been known to be a hit squad in and of herself. Hillary, if you're listening, please don't take a hit out on me. I'm just having a conversation with a few people. This is all just for fun, entertainment purposes. If you are going to sound clip any of this, you must use the entire episode. Don't kill me, Hillary Clinton. Now, jumping ahead of all of that, every single thing that you perceive and every single thing that you want to have a laugh at and or take seriously is entirely up to you. And because that's the case, every single thing that you focus on becomes your reality. So if you start changing your focuses inch by inch, piece by piece, your reality completely changes. And that's not something that people are too aware of. People still believe that they're reacting to a world around them, as opposed to choosing what to focus on and then creating a scenario themselves. So when you do truly understand that your reality is yours to create, things change. Your reality, for one. And then when you realize how fickle reality truly is, a lot changes. The worry changes, the fear, the all kinds. Sorry, I must have been touching on something there. I just got a massive sneezing attack. That's always fun. When you're on the right path and when you're on the right movement, things tend to get in the way when the message needs to get out. So a little bit more about the show. We're going to have some pretty amazing guests come on. We're scheduling a few people, which is not necessarily something we've ever really done in the past. It's always been kind of the seat of our pants. But there's a time and a place right now where we kind of want to get a bigger message out, a broader message. We want to connect with a few people that are really, really changing the game. And of course, some old classics and some old friends are coming back. So the show isn't changing. In my opinion, it's just getting better. The delays are helping. You know, they're allowing me to refocus and to change out certain energies and certain things I may have been focusing on too much. And this is the same thing. This is the reality that I'm talking about. When you have a comprehension that you're in control of your reality, that you can actually see and create and manifest, and that every single thing that you have is a result of your own personal manifestation, you start taking that shit seriously. You start changing the ways you perceive what you perceive. And you do it inside your mind. You start tapping into different frequencies. You start elevating your game. You know, it's the same way that a lifelong smoker can quit like that. A lifelong drinker can quit like that. A lifelong drug abuser, user, enthusiast, sampler, dabbler can change like that. Maybe I'm talking about myself. But you can. It can be done. You know, there's so many amazing things. Like one of the most amazing things that I've realized in this experience is that all of the things that you once did, or all of the things that you're not proud of, or all of the things that sort of you felt defined who you were as a character, all of those things that you're not comfortable with, you can think to yourself right now, I don't like this, I don't like that. Those are opportunities for you to change. Those are huge opportunities for you to be like, I see it, I'm aware of it, I'm going to change it. And that's really cool. When it comes to smoking, for example, you're like, I wish I'd never started, people will say. Well, every single time you light a cigarette, you're starting again. Every time you butt one out, that's it. You're done. You're done forever. So it's your mind. And then you think that you're addicted because you've been told you're addicted, right? You don't even realize that it takes a little bit of willpower to be like, fuck it, I'm done. Right? But there are so many people locked into the system that can't attain that. It's a peculiar thing. We're going to do a huge thing on quitting smoking. It was going to be the first audiobook from the Mental Mastery Alliance, and it might still be. But there's so much more I want to talk about that involves so much more. And quitting smoking is just a small piece. And that's not to take away from any smokers out there that are trying to quit. When you're in that mindset and when you're in that mind frame, it's massive. But at the same time, you do have the ability to just turn it off and be like, you know what? Fuck this. I'm not going to be a slave to this bullshit anymore. It's dumb. I'm wasting my time. Right? There are so many things too, because as a smoker, you're like, I get it. I know I'm wasting my time. I know this is stupid. I know, no. But trust me, there will come a moment in your life where you're like, I am fucking done. Je suis ne pas. That was French, and not very good French. It's just that you're done. And when your body is done, you're just done. And you move on happily. Not worry, not stress, not this, not that. You know, you test yourself. How far can I go? What can I do? What can I press? How can I change? Because changing doesn't become a burden at this point. When you come from, I guess it's primarily a scarcity mindset to an abundance mindset. Your ability to be aware, hyper aware of where you are, what you're doing, and how you're doing it is pivotal. Because then everything becomes a challenge, an exciting challenge. Be like, I'm going to go and not have cigarettes. I've been smoking my whole life. Let's see what it's like to not smoke. You know, I've been drinking my whole life. Let's see what it's like to not drink. Right? When you get there, when you're ready, it happens. There are so many things that you can do to boost your readiness, just by surrounding yourself with different things. You know, if you want to quit smoking and you don't really have any, you're not in a hurry, but you really want to, throw some quit smoking pages on your Instagram. Follow some people that are quitting. Follow some people that have quit. If you have any desire to get fit, follow some gym things on your Instagram, because these things are either, if you start now or you start later. If you go a whole year and having a couple of people that are getting fit on your Instagram, if you've got a couple of these people, your brain is taking this stuff in, whether you realize it or not. And you're like, you know what? I'm going to do it. And it's all going to be cerebral. And you're all going to think that you had this idea all by yourself, because thoughts aren't yours. Thoughts are realizations. Thoughts are frequencies. Your thoughts depend on what frequency you're vibrating on. Just like the radio, the music that comes out of the radio depends on what frequency you're tuned into. You want rock music? Tune into this channel. You want this music? Turn into that channel. You want soothing sounds of the 80s, 90s? Tune into this channel. Or what's the other one? Yacht Rock Radio. Your favorite tunes, etc. I can have some fun with that, but I'm not going to. It's funny. I can actually do that voice real well. And then as soon as I sort of put it out there, like on this thing, it like crackled. It's like, nope, you're not good. You're not doing voices today, bud. I'm like, shit. My own self put a kibosh on my own actions. How ironic. So 20-ish minutes into the podcast, let's talk a little bit about Afghanistan. I don't want to talk too much on it because I don't want to waste too much time on it, because we also want to talk to additional realities. But the Afghanistan issue that's going on, there are a ton of side stories, backstories, filler stories, things that are involved in the story that is Afghanistan. All of them culminate in the fact that it's the 20-year anniversary of 9/11. And a lot of people will tell you that 9/11 was perpetrated by the American government. There are a lot of quote-unquote conspiracy theories that actually back things up, like whatever happened to Building 7. And wherever you stand on that, that's okay too, because that's your reality. Now, if you stand on it from a conspiracy perspective, conspiracy being free thought, because man, conspiracies now, the conspiracy theory now has to be on everything. Has to be the story handed to you by the media. Like, this is the fucking lie. But since you're not allowed to talk about it or deduce it or what have you, you're going to get censored or redacted. And everybody's being self-censored. You look at all these people that are getting warnings and this, that, and the other thing. They're like, we're not going to censor you. You're going to censor yourself. Be careful of what you talk about so you don't lose your platform. Whatever. I've been banned, washed, wasted the whole time. I've lost everything. And if I lose this, you guys will probably find me again because it ain't going to be too long that I'm gone. What catches my attention about this Afghanistan thing was we're 20 years away from 9/11, which is coming up. And there's been some people say that watch for a major attack or watch for something weird that's going to take place on 11/09. 20 years later, they're going to do the reverse because everybody knows you have to reverse and bastardize everything as well. And everybody knows they're into these numerology things and they have to do all these seances and sequences and show us what they're going to do so that we can quasi agree to it, right? All of this stuff takes part in a certain and specific reality. Now, with regards to Afghan, I have not paid too much attention to it, and I'm not speaking on the merit of anything that's going on. I'm simply speaking on the underlying quote-unquote conspiracy or the interweb that ties it all back into itself. The main plane that they've been using for the propaganda machine, the Afghan booster, whatever, this plane and all the Afghanis running around the bottom of it, it's got 1109 written on it. So even like I said, they're bringing this back for the 20th anniversary. They want to reintroduce this energy into the ethos at this time. And then one of my clients said, hey, just take a look at the image. Take a look at the plane that they're using. It's literally got 9/11 written on it, but backwards, which also coincides with them trying to do something or something major possibly happening on 1109. Imagine they brought down the new World Trade Center like 20 years later. These fucking morons. Anyway, this whole thing, like, we can't live our lives in fear. We can't live our lives in anything other than whimsy and questions. Because all of this stuff, as far as I can tell, all of this stuff exists so that we have something to talk about. And that may sound weird, but the truth is everything is up for debate. Absolutely everything is up for debate. And everything that we know or do our deductions on or deduce our learnings from stem from false information. Since birth and since school, we've been handed the wrong information. And once you tap into a better purpose, a better set of information, the whole thing changes. So if you're out here having an experience that you're not in tune with or that you don't like, this is where anxiety and depression come from. If you start working towards your purpose and your path, you'll see that things will start working in your favor. Your abundance, your creation of abundance will change. Science is a story. Religion is a story. Shit, your past is a story. It's a story you're telling yourself, and it's a story that you believe is creating your future, but you have the ability to change all of that. In the blink of an eye, you can drop it all and start new. And every single person that says, hey man, it's possible that I can do that, you're on your way. But you're going to see the majority of people say, you don't know me, you don't know what I've lived through, you don't know my life. And what they're really doing is they're not convincing you, the speaker, of anything. They're convincing themselves that they cannot change and that they will stay the same. And they will do that until they hate themselves enough that they're forcing themselves to change. They will fight change they will fight their own effort in change tooth and nail until they themselves decide it's time to change. And then they'll see their shit. One of my favorite quotes is, it's the evidence of your own bullshit that is going to make you do the majority of your own mental change and your own mental growth. So the bottom line is all of this, every last one of your experiences, even waking up, is part of this game that we're playing, this game that is life. And the fact that we've been led to believe that it's infinite nothingness from the get-go is absolute bullshit. But if you're working from behind the 8 ball, then you've got something to overcome, which in my opinion is probably what we chose to do before we got here. # soul contracts. Because if everything was perfect and easy, what lessons do we have to learn? If we had to figure out who we were, if there was no mystery to the game, why would we play it? Why would we want to do something that we didn't know anything about? And then as you start going down that path and you start progressing in that direction, you think to yourself, holy Christ. Literally every single one of my beliefs is a limiting belief. It's preventing me from getting to where I need to be, where I want to be, and how I want to get there. It truly is fascinating. The life that we're living in is absolutely stunning. So what's coming up? What can you guys expect from us in the future? Some great guests. You're going to see, obviously, we're going to be back a little bit more frequently as the weather cools down. But also we're going to come back with a lot more in-depth shit. We do have the phone line still open right now. It is on the U.S. side. You can call. You know what? We still haven't. Well, we did. We changed it around to log in. But you can leave a voicemail, I believe, in the U.S. at 312-380-2277. And you can also leave a voicemail in Canada at 647-338-1265. You can get your voice heard. The Canada 12 you can send a text to. If you want to text that number and get your message out there, you can. You can also email us at info@the Mental Mastery Alliance. Also, if you have any interest in any of the things that we're doing, scalar energy, psychedelic mushrooms, all of that stuff is on the website, thementalmasteryalliance.com. You can check it out in the offers, the daily offers, which change quite a bit. But you're always going to get a discount if we're going to post anything, because we don't run ads. All we really do is share the things that we like. You're going to get all that stuff over there. But, you know, the group is growing, the page is growing, the Instagram is growing, everything's growing exponentially. If you guys want to connect with us, the easiest way to reach out to us is probably through the Instagram. It's always being monitored by someone. Well, not always, but for the most part. Within a couple days, somebody should get back to you. And it's just a great time. It's a great time for all of us to sort of grow. Right now, man, it's just the energy. It's the ethos. It's what's happening. We're in this amazing energy, this essence where it seems like everything's going to shit, but everything that's going to shit was already shit. And now we're accepting that it was shit, and we're seeing the growth and the potential and the change. And it's really cool. And again, if you come from an abundance mindset, once you drop that scarcity mindset and you go to abundance, everything changes. The whole perception of everything is changing. The world around us becomes so horribly and hilariously predictable that you're like, what the fuck? Like, you guys are literally reading off a script. I can see right through all of this shit. And it's liberating. It's freeing. Depression, anxiety, all go away. There's just so much more to this world than worrying about what the fuck they're handing you, what piece of information they're handing you at any given time. Ladies and gentlemen, we're always around to chat with and to connect with. We're having a lot of fun. I'm having a lot of fun. It's been an amazing summer. I appreciate each and every one of you. And thank you for bearing with us as we're going slowly through summer with regards to episodes. But a lot of great stuff is coming, like I said. And you guys, I love interacting with all of you. Anyone that reaches out to us through the Instagram or through email, you guys are all fantastic. So a big round of applause for you. We love you. I love you. Thank you all so very much. And in the infamous words of Red Green, keep your stick on the ice.
Thank you for listening to today's Mental Mastery Alliance podcast. Let the team know you're listening by using the hashtag MMA and Mental Mastery Alliance. Want more motivation? Be sure to follow online on Instagram at Mental Mastery Alliance and on Facebook at Mental Mastery Alliance. And remember, your perception creates your reality. Make it a great day.
You got it, Pontiac.